put the entrance music or
Yeah.
whatever it's called.
You know what, dude? No. Fuck that. We're playing the intro right now.
Okay, lead
Just to
us
get
in,
it over with. And
then
like,
yeah, I'm thinking about it a lot.
yeah. Let's get it going. Let's
And
maybe
then
do
you
it right.
speak when it's done.
Well, someone out there has got to fill out the middle of the bell curve. TV, movies, games, and books. None of it'll ever get better. Well, someone out there has got to fill out the middle of the bell curve. If you're gonna have a mediocre podcast, then we'll go right ahead and tell them.
Okay. I think we actually just had an intro for once.
Wow, it was so hard not to say something.
I wanted to say something, and I'm the one watching it. I know exactly when it's going to start and end, and I'm still like, but shit, Drew, it wasn't, we were talking off mic, but I want you to, I think that was a good topic to start with. Like you were just saying, repeat basically what you just said about your whole character arc with egotism.
My thought was, and it's not an original thought, it was something I heard in my late teens, was that everybody should be at least some sort of a narcissist. Because if you do not think that you are the best or just the shit, awesome, fantastic, any word that describes just being a fucking champion, who else will?
Right. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. You reiterated that well. So we were fucking with the camera and everything was fucking up. But I wanted to respond to that by saying, like, I've thought a lot about that, and it's tough because at first my initial character arc was I had this big disagreement with someone basically over this idea that they were talking about self-love, and I was like, I think in a weird way the default setting of a person is to love themselves above everyone else. And if they don't, then it becomes just a different kind of distortion. Like being self-conscious is still kind of a selfish way of thinking. All eyes are on me. Everyone's thinking of everything I'm doing. It's like depression and anxiety, those things are always really self-focused.
Yeah.
So like, I think that is sort of the default setting. But then I guess I came back around to like this, the same medicine isn't for everybody. Because like,
True, and also the dose makes the poison, right?
Exactly. Like if I'm talking to this meek, reserved, humble person, I would be like, listen, I would give them that medicine. But if I'm talking to Kanye West, I'm not going to give him that medicine.
And you know what I think it really was, like, truly, in hindsight? It was like familiarity with my surroundings where new people would just show up. So I had a complete understanding of everything around me. So I could be the top dog. But now, like, changing jobs like 4 times, you don't have that same sense of like, I run the show when you literally at the bottom.
Yeah, not me. I tend, dude, I have this like thing where I don't know what it is. My sense of like confidence has landed on a different foundation somewhere along the lines. Like right now at my job, I'm not the best. And like I think maybe it's like deeply rooted just being like an outlier kind of personality where I'm just like I don't care. It's just an apathy thing. But like it's not necessarily negative. It's just like I made the joke. Everybody was like worrying about the licensing and stuff, and like instead of being supportive, I was just like, listen, guys. Worst case is that we lose our jobs and our livelihood and the source of our well-being and potentially our homes and partners. Calm down.
I mean, that's it. Yeah.
It's not helpful.
No. Since you said that, there a long time ago, like a few years ago, before I became a well-respected citizen, depending on how many people listen to this,
When did that
I had
happen?
done whenever legally is acceptable. So I had taken acid. It was acid, and I thought the same thing. I was like, "What's the worst that could happen? Like, I could go outside, and just like smack a kid, run over a dog, rob a bank.
The
I'm like, what's the
usual
worst?
status
Yeah, the
quo.
worst that I could think of. And I was like, what, at the end of the day, what's the big deal? Like, I'll go to jail, like, whatever. In 200 years, what's that going to mean? My brain was so like, yeah, 200 years is nothing, bro.
Yeah, acid is the weirdest time to think shit like that. Where you're just like, you know, the sun's gonna explode. So like, fuck it. Your concept of time is just gone.
Yeah, and it's like 40 billion years from now, the sun's going to explode. And when I first heard that, I was like, oh, Jesus. Like, I got anxiety. I was like, oh, are you kidding me? Like, that's too soon. Like, even though it's unfathomable to my head, like, I could not imagine 40 billion years. But I'm still like, oh, shit. Like, that soon? Really?
Yeah. One thing like I do like about you, Drew, is you have um that just innately like death defiant attitude. So it's like a love of life that I think is cool. Not everybody has that.
I try to maintain that because, like, I think about that a lot. The utter kind of finality of death. And that it's the one thing everybody gets to have, a death. So it's like, fucking, what's the story between now and then?
Yeah. I definitely have like I feel like whoever came up with uh my moral code or like my general philosophy on life. I think I made the joke one time to you, Drew, that like there was like a magnet stuck to my moral compass. Because
Yeah.
like I feel like I always take the back road to get everywhere. Like even with like positive stuff, I tend to like express it in a very cynical way.
I can
Mm.
kind of understand that philosophy.
Where it's like instead of somebody being like, "Hey man, just be yourself and like be happy," I'm just like, "Nothing matters. Why do you care? You're gonna die."
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I mean, in the utter meaninglessness of that, any sort of show of affection or show of anything sort of means something in the moment. Like throughout time, it doesn't mean anything, but right now it's kind of neat.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I have trouble like I know Chris and I have talked a lot about different Eastern philosophies and like even like Western stuff like Stoicism, and it's hard. Like I really love a lot of the Taoist stuff, but it is difficult for my Western paradigm to like latch onto sometimes. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm always like my brain is just set to like try and pick things apart, but I guess where I'm going is like even the idea of being like people are like live in the moment, but the ability to like recollect and enjoy the past as its own form of reality is a form of living in the moment as well. And like I think that is an Eastern thing. I think we just sometimes misunderstand it. We're always like live in the moment. It's like stop thinking about the past, stop thinking about the future. And it yes, to an extent, but also at the same time, like those are a natural part of the human existence and a vital part of our ability to survive.
Yeah, but I can say for myself that thinking about the past and the future has literally kept me from being in the moment just more than I would care to admit. It's
So,
been probably the
Yeah.
biggest problem in my life. Like, dude, I was telling Sam last night, there's so much of the past 10, 12 years that I just don't remember because I'm always just so in my head. I'm barely in the,
You're not even
not really
there.
in the mode. Yeah.
Man,
It's,
maybe
it's
that's
crazy.
another example of the like Drew had said more concisely than me is the dose makes the poison. Like what works for me doesn't work for you. I can't tell you like,
Right.
hey Chris, do what
well,
I do. It doesn't work for you.
I
Yeah.
just had this thought, and I'm sorry to cut either of you off, but
You're good.
it made me think, Caleb, you're talking about, like being in the moment kind of also means like looking into the past and future. And I think an aspect of being in the moment would be to see the future and the past from your current perspective, not where you were 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Like the past 5 years ago was what, 2018, which I think a lot of us are kind of stuck in. We're like, oh man, 5 years ago, that would be 2013 now, because we're all stuck there. We're not thinking in the current. So that way, when you look at the future from 10 years ago and it's not on that exact path, your brain just shuts down. You're like, no, I didn't take that exact route because I'm still thinking in my 2018 brain of where I'd be in 2023. And when you're not, you're angry instead of seeing what route you did take and all the fun and terrible things that happened then.
I think you're onto something there, because, I think that's why it's jarring when people remind you of like the days of yore and they're like, did you know that your childhood show came out in this year? And you're like, no way. Like, it was only 5 years ago. And you're like, it couldn't have been, dude. Like, but you're still standing still and everything else is moving.
Yeah, instead of you riding with the time. And you kind of started that. It just made me think like, my brain's still stuck pre-pandemic. So I'm like, oh, the pandemic was like last year, but we're on year 3 of that shit.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, no. A lot has happened then, even though it feels like 2 weeks, but really we've been through 3 years of everything.
I think it's the measurement. Like, we've talked about this before at some point, but like, I think it's because we have to have like signposts, and the largest signpost right now is COVID, as far as like something that's universally accepted as a landmark. Because like, we can't just float around nebulously. Our brains don't work like that. We have to think like, if I'm going to the bank, I always have to think how close I am to the bank relative to my location. So like, maybe that's why we do that. We're using COVID as a means of like, hey, everybody understands, it's like pointing at a landmark. Like, yeah, you see that giant fucking mountain? Like, we all get where that is.
Yeah.
Where are we relative to that?
Yeah, we are exactly 100 miles away from that mountain. So if that mountain moves, we're like, fuck.
I mean, we kind of based our entire Western count of years off of a landmark like that. We're like, when do we think Jesus was born? Okay, that's how we're going to count everything forever.
But hey, at least you keep it consistent.
That's true. That's true. But I think like I'm being funny, but that is actually an example of how our brains work. We can't just have year 1 compared to what?
Exactly. And I didn't mean to cut you off, Chris, but like I was just thinking about that. Like, maybe that's because I get bad anxiety lately, and I'm just like, maybe it's because I'm thinking too much in the past. Oh, like I'm stuck in the past.
Yeah. No, the anxiety has been getting real, and more intense as I age. And I think that comes back to the whole fact that I've been constantly stuck in the past and the present, what I didn't do, what I wish I had done, what I'm not doing, where I'm not going,
Yeah.
All that keeps me stuck in the same spot pretty consistently and constantly self-sabotaging because I'm so hard on myself for those things, those opportunities.
Yeah, man. My ability to measure time is just ass. Like, things that didn't happen that long ago feel like they happened forever ago, and then things that happened forever ago, like we were talking about, feel like they just happened. So sometimes I think that creates a mindset that's very unsympathetic. And I was trying to think about that because, like, as you were saying all that, Chris, it was like you're describing to a T, like, I've been there in life, like, so many times, right? But I'm not there right now. And, like, it's just like this unsympathetic knee-jerk response. But then I'm like, dude, you could be doing that next week. Like, and you've done it a million times over, but there's something about the way your brain calcifies around pain to feel like all of those dark emotions. I think my brain just submerges them. So when you bring them up, my brain's like, whoa, we're not there right now. Let's not play with that. But I don't think that's happening on a conscious level. I think it almost is like responding to it in a hostile way. Like, you ever have people like respond to like, they're like, oh, you just need to do this and do that. Like they have this like simple, stupid solution for your life drama.
Yeah.
I think it's because they don't want to go there mentally. They're like, whoa.
Yeah,
we're
no, for
discussing
sure. They don't
things.
want to. They don't want to bring that old shit back up and have to go through it again.
But it's all part of being human, man. It will happen again. I will be where you are again. There's no like permanent nirvana. There's no like permanent state of untouchable, perfected mind. And I know that sucks, but it's true.
But there's also no
Yeah.
permanence for that sort of like functory mindset where like eventually,
Absolutely.
as long as you're not like fully out of your like mentally shit, like you will eventually snap out of it and have like a sort of sunny day.
Most of us, yeah. And I think like on a
Yeah.
long enough timeline for sure, unless there's something like fundamentally chemically wrong, in which case, you know, there are medicines we have to like counteract that. But for most people, it's like, yeah, the same as on both ends of the spectrum. You're never going to permanently be. There's this funny story. I don't remember if I told you guys, but you know who Charles Spurgeon is? He was like a pretty famous, like preacher in England back in the day.
I've never heard of him.
Yeah, no.
Well, you know, that's not that weird. But anyway, there's this hilarious thing is there's this guy and he believed you could be like perfectly sanctified while you're on earth. Like he thought that like you could achieve perfection, essentially in layman's terms. So he told everybody he didn't sin. He had reached the point he doesn't sin in thought, in deed, in action, nothing. Just perfect man, right? So one day they're all sitting at the table and Charles Spurgeon walks over to him and dumps a cup of milk on his head. And he jumps up and starts yelling at him. And he goes, "Good to see you can still sin," and walks away.
Damn.
Because you're full of shit.
Yeah.
There is no... You are a primate. Like, we can do some badass shit. And we can reach some ecstatic, awesome, like, states of mind that transcend what it means to be human. And then you're still going to poop. And when people are shitty to you, you can only counteract that so much. Like, I think I recommended the book Man's Search for Meaning, the Viktor Frankl book.
Yeah.
Well, that book has that's one of the biggest books that has changed the way I think.
Yeah, I kind of agree because there was a chapter, or not even a chapter, like a paragraph that had a really fucking just intense quote where it was something along the lines of like, man can endure any how as long as he's given a reason why, or something like that.
Yes.
And I was like, Jesus Christ, like that's a quote and a half.
That is a quote and a half. If anybody listening has not read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, I'm not saying you have to like it. It's a short little read. And the back half of it is basically just him explaining his theory. So you really only, if you just want like the historical part, read the first half. But he's a what would it be called? A psychologist, or who is a concentration camp survivor. So he's basically put into a camp, and his entire thesis, his whole sense of well-being is like in his pocket. His whole life's work, and they just take it. He tried to hide it, they take it. So then like he has no idea at the time, like he's always thinking of his wife, if you remember that, and she's already dead. They've already killed her, and he doesn't know that until after he's out of the camp. But I'm like, dude, it's so fucked. But like he said at one point, he literally just has to laugh because they're all standing there as they're being like hosed down before they enter, literally completely naked. And Chris, you should sympathize with, like, it overlaps a lot with the Stoic stuff. It's like literally he says we couldn't help it. Some of us were laughing because it's like everything that our identity was built upon, like in a literal, non-metaphorical sense, we are just here naked. Our education means nothing. Our businesses we used to own means nothing. Our family and relationships and friends, they mean nothing. All we have is our naked selves. And it's like, dude, that's just such an awesome and powerful book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that really like succinctly kind of brings down like all the thoughts of you could have so much money and so many cars and so many houses, but like at the end of the day, you're a naked monkey. Just so simply, you're a naked monkey. That's all you are. You can dress yourself up as a king or a pope or a priest or a celebrity. You're a fucking naked monkey. It doesn't matter.
Damn, and I'm kind of pissed we didn't like get a few episodes down before we named the podcast, because I feel like Naked Monkey, there's something to that. That's awesome.
Well, that could be our LLC.
I think media is possibly the least of what we've talked about.
Potentially.
It started
Like-
off that way, but you're right.
Well,
Things
briefly.
evolve. Things evolve.
The
Yeah,
Joe
no.
Rogan experience is not always an experience.
And it doesn't even always have Joe Rogan in it.
Exactly.
Whoa.
That doesn't make any sense. But
Yeah,
before we get too lost in our own ponderings about the name
Sort
of our own podcast,
self-masturbatory
we
psychiatry.
yeah, we did have some people actually respond to our last episode with like ideas
Get the
for
fuck
stuff for
out.
us to talk about. So I wanna give them that time, and I love when people do that. I love interactions, man. I want to be able to have people you know, so from here at Jacob Day 3437, his comment, he said, I was just rewatching 964 Pinocchio yesterday and would love to hear you guys talk about some of your favorite bizarre or obscure movies or media in general. That sounds fun.
Yeah. But what is 964?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Fuck if I know what 964 Pinocchio
All right,
is.
we'll
It's
just
something
go with
bizarre and
Pinocchio.
obscure.
Sorry.
Okay.
So
I mean, the new one was pretty obscure and unique in a good way, but I can see where he's getting at. So he's talking about just kind of things that may not be immediately pleasing. You know?
He wants to know, like, I guess, bizarre or obscure shit that we like. 964 Pinocchio is a movie from 1991. It looks like a Japanese film. Lobotomized cyborg sex slave is thrown out onto the street by his owners because of his inability to maintain an erection. Oh, that's fucking great.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, so
Oh, God.
that's awesome. I love that. You know, immediately coming to mind, I know he's talking about a movie, but immediately coming to mind, I would love to bring up somebody called Hazel Adkins. He is I'm pretty sure he didn't own his like first pair of shoes till he was like 18 years old. Just lived way out in bumfuck country nowhere. But like he got a hold of like some of like the old rockabilly records and stuff, and he wanted to do like rockabilly music. So he like made his own instruments and attempted to do that. And this dude, I mean, his albums were coming out in the 50s. Talk about ahead of your time. This dude was singing about like, you know, like cutting people's heads off so they can't eat any more hot dogs. Mental illness had to be a factor. But this dude is fucking hilarious. Like everything you think like from the 80s with like this like dark, like we talked about the Misfits and stuff, like Hazel Adkins was like just literally just recording what mental illness sounds like in the 50s, and it's fucking awesome if you haven't heard it.
I've never heard that name before. Hazel Adkins.
Yep, that's going to be my vote for obscure and bizarre thing
No
that I
more.
like.
So when it comes to me, I was thinking about this for a minute, and the only thing I could think of that would be obscure and bizarre would just be the super random fighting games of like the Neo Geo era. Like just
Neo Geo, you've already hit. Go on though. You met the criteria.
there was one on the Nintendo 64 where I need to find this. Give me like 10 seconds. I'll find this.
No.
Okay, it was called Mace the Dark Age. And I played this game a fuck ton as a kid when I had an N64 for like 6 months. I played this game nonstop. And it
Mace
is
the Dark Age. I've never heard of that. Yeah.
and it's a super early N64 like Tekken or Soul Calibur where you fight with a weapon and it's 3D.
Dude, the cover looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, I fucking love the cover. I would get that dude's armor tattooed.
You should. And then no one will ever know what that tattoo is.
Yeah, and it's such a weird fucking game that like every time I think about it, people are like, "Yeah, I've never heard of that." And I'm like, that makes sense.
That does make perfect
Yeah.
sense. I feel like that's most of my like tastes with stuff. I have an attraction to the
Bizarre.
the bizarre, and yeah, it's just fun. What about you, Chris? You have any bizarre,
actually-
obscure things? I'm sure you do because you're you.
Well, actually, mine is just a movie. It's from 1994, and it's called Natural Born Killers.
Mm!
Oh,
No, I love that
know.
movie.
Yeah, none. It's very strange. It's very controversial, but I mean, I enjoyed it. Woody Harrelson,
yeah, dude.
Juliette Lewis, Robert Downey Jr., Tommy Lee Jones. There's so many people in it.
Man. Okay, so
Yeah.
I just Googled it, and one of the things was, why is Natural Born Killers so controversial?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
apparently it inspired numerous murders, and you can kind of see it. Like,
And the Columbine?
yeah,
Well, dude,
they say it. I mean, it may not have. Who really knows? But
yeah,
Yeah.
it's riding the hype. It's the G.G. Allen of movies. But no, dude, one of the things about that movie that I love so much is it is basically commentary overall on like what is it with our sick obsession with serial killers.
right, it's fascinating. Like murder porn does so well on television. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
Sam, that's about what
You know why?
what she watches in her spare time. You know.
Well, you know why? Because I get it.
No, it
I don't.
stretches
No, I
that,
think we all do to some extent. That's what's
Exactly.
weird.
Like I've always thought like nobody past a certain age has ever looked at something and been like, God, I could kill that person. I get it. These people just had the non-filter, the non-murder filter to be like, and I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
Well,
like
and-
kill her father,
Yep.
super abusive, and then start going around and just kill pretty much everybody, but only to leave one person to tell the story
Yep.
and, start their serial killer run.
Yeah, dude, it's really good. And the just trippy way it's done because they're eating shrooms the whole
Right.
movie, but like I've never seen a movie that disturbs me on certain levels like quite like in the unique way it did. I'm not saying it's the most disturbing
Right.
movie I've seen, but there's something about watching Rodney Dangerfield talk about like abusing his daughter while there's sitcom laugh tracks.
That's just sick and
It's
twisted.
just disgusting, right? And
Yeah.
that's the point. Obviously, it's not glamorizing
Mhm.
this. I think
But-
that's
and the-
misunderstood.
Right,
I need to-
and the way
Okay.
it goes from black and white to natural color to like kind of stills almost.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
the
great
back
movie.
and forth nature of it it's a really fun watch, trippy watch too if you're into that. So highly recommended.
Good pool. Good pool.
Yeah. So thank you. Who was the question by?
That was Jacob Day 3437.
Jacob.
Thank you,
Day.
Jacob.
I know him. So it's not
Well,
just
we
a
don't,
rando
so-
Calrissian, but to you guys, it is a rando Calrissian. We do have, let's see, we have one more here, and this is from Rated T for Toxicus 2078. And she actually has a YouTube channel as well. If you want to check that out, she plays video games
Oh, cool.
and stuff like that. So she says, maybe a weird idea for a topic, but I would like to hear if you guys have any weird habits, and if so, what they are.
Hmm.
You want to lead with this one,
Hmm.
Chris?
I'm trying to think here. That's
Don't hurt yourself.
weird habits.
I'm kidding.
Hmm. Dude,
I definitely, dude. I have a
um,
lot of weird habits, but only some are fit for consumption.
all right, I'm trying, trying to think of any that are.
Okay, I have a weird habit, but it's not consistent, I should say, because I don't do it. Every time I go to the bank, I always steal a pen. Does that count?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty weird
Or
habit.
I'll
like
take
every time I
that.
take the pen, I clip my pen on my pocket so I can retrieve it easily. But every time I do take it out of my pocket, before I use it, if I'm like walking or driving, I have to put the pen in my mouth and like bite it before I like use it. I'm like, I gotta get this in like 30 seconds, so might as well bite down.
All right, I like that.
Hmm.
I definitely okay. I mean, mine. I have a weird habit. So maybe it's weird. I've never really taken a Gallup poll, but whenever I pee, I just take a little bit of toilet paper and I dab because I don't want drips in my pants.
Hmm.
Um,
And I'm
Fair
telling you,
enough.
do it. It'll change you.
Now,
So
I never started doing it for that. It was actually when my wife was like,
my wife.
I I would like you to do that before you come to bed, so I ain't sucking
Pee.
pee off your dick. So
So
that
it's not.
changed me
Yeah,
to
you.
doing that.
I
You
feel
know,
like it's just, but it's just an all the time thing. It's just I don't want pee in my pants.
yeah,
That
no, I
shit
see. I
builds
never
up a
gave
few
a
drops at a
singular
time, man.
fuck.
You ever smell your boxers after several drops of pee throughout the day have collected in there? Don't.
See, my pee has
Yeah,
never been
no.
like
Second weird
asparagus.
habit, smelling my urine. I'm kidding.
Yeah, because like I will grab a piece of toilet paper and like dab the seat. Because even if I'm like laser accurate, I'm like I might as well just in case
Dude,
I fucking splashed.
well, for one, I neglected to mention that that's my sister who left the comment. So I'm just telling my I think she probably already knows. I'm sure I've brought this up to her about the pee dab. But anyway, yeah, dude, what is it about when I pee? It splashes like am I peeing like a fire hose? What the fuck is happening? Am I pushing it too hard? Like, because I feel like there's way more splash, and I just need to know now if this is like a common issue where I'm
No,
like I feel
I
like I
think it
have
is.
to clean up a radius. What the fuck is happening?
I think the same thing. Because I don't know. I always thought it was maybe because I'm really tall, but like when I pee, it feels like I'm creating like tsunamis in the toilet.
Right?
Where it's
What
just
the
like,
fuck is that?
Yeah, I feel that. So, do you guys have a preference on where you piss in the toilet? Like, is it
It
on the
depends
glass
on
or
whether
in the
we're recording
water?
a podcast. If we're recording a podcast, I sort of try to pee against the bowl so it doesn't get caught on mic.
Right.
I like to lift the back part of the toilet up and pee in the reservoir. So that way
Oh,
it's flush.
huh. Yeah, okay.
I
I
think
like to
that's
go
what the
right
movie The
on the
Reservoir
line.
Dogs is about.
Hell yeah.
Classic movie. But no, I think I like to go right on the line because it's like the best of it's pretty quiet, but also less splatter too. You know what I mean? Because
That's
when you're
Yeah.
hitting the side there, there's a lot of splatter. That's not so.
so
Not
you
to
like
clean
to
up.
you like to piss on the line of the yin yang,
Yeah.
straight
I'll
in
ride that
there.
line hard.
I used to, and then it just became too much. Like if I pissed right there, like I feel like there'd be a lot more splashing.
That
Like
is the
inside.
issue, though. Yeah, you
Yeah.
basically have to balance it. Do you want a little more splash?
Okay.
Or a little
Controversy
less quiet.
time.
Yeah,
When do you just sit down to pee?
I did
At
that
what
just
point?
today.
At what? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. At what point do you just sit down and just say like, I'm not wasting toilet paper. I'm going to be an environmentalist today, and I'm going to sit down to pee.
Yeah, for sure, dude. I sat down today because we just moved into a new place, and I'm like, I don't want piss everywhere, and I've done the dab, but it doesn't stop the splash. And you know what? I was like, you know what? I'm gonna sit down. I'm man enough to sit down while I pee. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, like why is that a feminine issue nowadays, or
My
even
brother
ever?
suggested it to me one time, and even at the time, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, I'm not gonna sit down to pee. And
So
now I'm eating crow.
I'll do it when I'm sleeping. If I have to get up while I'm sleeping to pee.
I feel like peeing in your sleep is sitting down or standing up is the least of your issues.
Yeah.
You're probably
So
laying
maybe this is
down.
my way. Okay, so maybe this is also my weird habit too. Yeah, because I've had trouble sleeping for so long, anytime I would get up in the middle of the night to conquer it, I would go to the bathroom, but I wouldn't want to turn on the light because that would trigger me to just be like, okay, I'm awake now.
Yeah, now I'm really awake. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would just keep the light off and sit down instead, and I don't see anything wrong with that. Help
Hell
me
yeah,
get much
dude.
better sleep.
Here at the Mediacre podcast, we are all about just full transparency on how we eliminate our urine.
Yeah, buddy.
We're very
This is-
straightforward on all our eliminations.
That's
We'll get
true. I need to know. I just need it to be known though that the question had nothing to do with our bathroom habit,
there.
and it had turned entirely into how we pee. But I do have a good story if you'd like to
But-
hear it.
Of
Well, of
course not.
Oh, well, I'm gonna go with Chris's vote, which is tell the story.
Of course.
Might as
When
well.
in doubt, shout it out.
Yep. So I had to have been like 5 because my dad was there.
It's amazing you remember that early. I don't remember
Well,
that at all.
it's a combination of like memory. I do remember because pain cements memory, but
True.
there's also like it's one of those memories that's like meshed with like other people telling you the memory. So like where you know what I mean? Like where my recollection and where the story being told to me, where those two things merge, I don't know. But either way, I do remember the motivation. And I was peeing, and I thought to myself, I want to know what it looks like when the pee emerges. So can you guess what I did next?
Did you just stick it? Like, did you just look right at it while you pissed right in your face?
I aimed it directly at my own eyes and peed into my own eyes. And it burned
Aw.
so bad. But you know what? For like maybe 0.2 of a second, I learned what I wanted to know.
Well, hey.
You won in the end.
Yeah.
For science!
Because guess what? That knowledge remains, but that stinging in your eyes is temporary.
Exactly. How many other people can say that's a New Year's resolution? As soon as the clock hits 0, pee in your own eyes. I bet you'll be the first one.
I don't even know what the fuck that means.
I mean, there's got to be a monkey somewhere that did it before you.
Well, no. I mean, like at the start of 2024, what are the chances that someone else is peeing in their eyes as the clock hits 0?
I feel
That is-
like that oddly has gone up. You know?
Somebody's going to be drunk at there's too many colleges in the world for that not to be a thing.
Right. That's got to
Damn.
be a hazing at something. Some
Shit.
college.
I mean, yeah, at least I was 5 and it was like an innocent curiosity.
Right. Yeah. No, you were just trying to figure your body out.
I just wanted to know what's up with that because it looks so it's so just not
This little
it's
string
not,
attached to me work.
Yeah, well, and like the pee hole, it's not open. You know, from a 5-year-old's mindset, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I can't
does that
see into myself. What the fuck is going on? Does it open when I pee? And
Didn't spread the lips there.
right, exactly. What's going
Funny
on?
story is I had just seen something about you know how you get older and
Nope.
yeah, I know, right? It's crazy. But you go to pee and you're done. But when you think you're done, more just keeps coming out. Like the older you get, that
Dude,
little bit.
Yeah,
just
I
kinda-
just never. That's why I started to have to dab.
Yeah. Well, if I remember right, there's a reason for that, and it's the older you get, the bigger your schwanz gets from a child, and there's a bend in your dick where your urethra connects, where it bends there. So even when you pee, when you get older, there's still a little bit left. So when you finally relax to stop peeing, that's when that last bit trickles out.
dude.
Wait. My
No,
what
so
gets bigger as I get older?
Your schwanz.
My what?
Your schwanz. Your dick.
Schwanz? I've never
Schwanz.
heard that.
You haven't watched enough Seinfeld.
That's probably true.
Yeah, no,
I don't
that
hate
sound familiar.
Seinfeld. I've enjoyed what I've watched, but yeah, I'm not like a Seinfeld fan.
But yeah, that's the reason why your urethra bends at a certain point in your dick. So as you get older and that sort of angle becomes more pronounced, it's like a hose. You're like kinking it off. So when you relax your muscles after you're done peeing, it relaxes and that last bit of pee shoots out.
Dude, I
Man,
have that so hard, even now at just 32, where it's like I'll get done basically peeing, but then I can just like do a trickle, trickle,
Yeah.
trickle, trickle.
And you think
Okay,
you're
maybe now I'm
flushing it
done.
out.
Yeah, that's why the dabbing of my dick gets me too, because I'm like, I can seemingly get little droplets for basically ever. It seems.
Oh yeah, dude, it's
Just
a
because how
permanent.
long do I want to go? You know,
Yeah.
and at which point is it like, am I just fighting a losing battle?
Yeah, no,
You know,
I totally simp. I don't know
totally
because
simp.
it's not really. I totally simp. I was gonna.
You can't
Simp is
simp for
short for
women you're dating.
sympathize, right?
This is
You
a whole
can't
new.
simp for women you're dating. It's just,
No.
you can't.
Nah, dude, I'm simping with you, Chris. I'm taking it back. I'm using it in a new way.
Mm.
So I don't know how to we'd have to go around and ask people, but it's one of those things I feel like for sure that like nobody talks about, but it's definitely a thing.
What, the whole like dick trickle thing?
The whole dick trickle.
Yeah.
It takes too long to say. You need to
The dickle. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
the dickle is real.
the dickle is. Well,
like
The
I
pissing
remember
the penis,
being
one might say.
I remember when I was younger and we had my
back when you peaked.
our bathroom was right around the corner. It was we all shared the same bathroom in the house. It was right around the corner from my room, so my dad would be in there.
Let's not
And-
lie. It was your room.
Yeah, he was just pissing in my room. It turned out it was very awkward. And, I would just hear him. It seemed like forever, dude. Where he's just like, like I was saying earlier, where he finished, but he keeps on, and he has this way of like sighing and gasping with it, like it's a struggle to get it all out. So it was just like, this is unsettling. At first, I thought there was something wrong with him, but as I've gotten older, I'm just like, I'm just getting older. Okay, I get it now.
Oh, dude, I'm just putting myself in the mindset of young Chris sitting across from his struggling father's urination and just wondering what's in store for the future.
So funny story. A few years that just reminded me of that. A few years ago, I hadn't even been drinking that night, but apparently I woke up in like a sleepwalking state.
Oh God, you sleepwalking? I would put you down.
Very rarely, but this one is very funny. And I walk in to my sister's room, just open the door, just like, "Rrr." And I think it's the bathroom. So, but before I do anything, like I wake her up. She's like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Get out of here! I gotta go to the bathroom." And she's like, "No, you fucking psychopath! Get the fuck out!" And she's like pushing me and like, "Get out of my goddamn room!" And I'm
When
like,
was this?
Years ago.
Like how many though?
Probably less than 20, but more than 5.
That is the worst fucking whatever. I have a cool
I couldn't
sleepwalk
tell you how long.
story.
It's long enough that I can't remember the exact time. But yeah, it was just that like, and again, I wasn't even like fucked up.
No, dude, it's well, here's one. I wasn't fucked up at all because I was once again a child. This story sounds made up, so I will have my family testify that this is a real story. But my parents had just been divorced. I had to have been around 7 years old. I may have told you guys this off mic, but we were staying in my grandparents' finished basement at the time while we figured out our trajectory. But long story short, I was probably around 6 or 7, and my sleepwalking ass, I used to sleepwalk and try to pee on everything all the time, just like your story, Drew. Except this time, I was an overachiever. I woke up.
Succeeding.
Woke up. I didn't wake up. That's the whole definition of sleepwalking. But I got up. I walked all the way up the basement stairs, opened the door, went into the regular house, walked to the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, opened the bottom drawer where all my grandpa's oranges were, and peed into them.
Oh.
And my mom caught me because I guess she saw me getting up and was like, what the fuck?
What time was it? How old were you?
Maybe
again?
6 or 7.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So she caught me, and her solution was, get this,
Rub your nose.
rinse off the oranges and just put them back. And my grandpa ate those oranges the next day.
All of them?
Well, I don't know how many oranges there were, but he ate any of them. At minimum, he ate 1 piss orange, and I feel like that's enough.
Oh, that's more than enough.
That's more. It was not a great time, and she didn't tell him till after. So
God
I'd be a
damn.
little bit angry about eating little boy pea oranges because those things are porous.
Yeah.
You know the pea got in there. And citrus is pungent, dude. They put it in cleaners.
That's where it's like gonna burst in it. Oh no, I'm imagining the orange bursting in your mouth. You know,
It's
that
got a tinge
juicy
to it.
flavor.
I'm willing to tell a fucked up story.
Oh, please.
Oh please.
Because all I've done is, since someone asked us a question and made the mistake
No, but
of asking for our input, all I've done is that. So go ahead.
This is really embarrassing. So,
I'm excited.
my cat, I have a cat, and we got him neutered maybe like a year ago. But before that, he had a tendency to just piss.
Don't we all?
Yeah, but just on terrible places. And there was one time where I had ordered some pizza, and we had left the pizza
Oh,
out.
God, no.
I mean, you're not going to get extra credit for jumping ahead.
I don't like the foreshadowing.
Yeah. And there was a night where we left it out and I had been drinking and I was like, man, before I go to bed, I really need some pizza. So I took some pizza out of a pizza box that I was not paying close attention to and had put it in the microwave without smelling anything untowards. And then I started eating it and I took more bites than was probably socially acceptable before I realized what had happened.
Oh no.
Dude, the only socially acceptable number of cat piss pizza bites is 1.
Yeah, and it was more than 1, and that's all I'll say.
He ate 3 slices.
Yeah, right. I was just gonna say we're just not saying the slices.
Yeah, but again, I was drunk, and I was like, "Man, this pizza really tastes soft," but I must be drunk.
Oh, dude.
And then it became a point where I was like, I cannot like reconcile with what is happening in my brain, so I had to stop. And it wasn't a full slice. I can defend myself that it was not a full slice.
Dude.
Okay, so I can tell an embarrassing story too about piss. But can I tell one about your fucking cat too, real quick?
Of course.
Is this cat
Because-
like
He was a problem. He's not anymore.
It
he's
was a big problem.
notorious?
Yeah. No, so I had this computer before the one I had now, and it had this case on, and on the side of it, it was mesh, right, with a huge fan in it on the side of it. And
I'm a huge fan of
so
it.
it's totally open. And this cat, I'm sitting here playing Monster Hunter World. I just kill this high rank monster, get this super rare piece of piece from it I needed for a piece of armor. Super excited, and all of a sudden, I hear the spraying, and I look down, and he's pissing into the side of my computer, and because it hits this huge fan, It just
Oh,
splatters
no.
across the whole inside of it. Dude.
Dude, that's not embarrassing. That's just
Well, that was the
traumatic.
glad
No,
story. He has not told me
this is the cat
embarrassing
story.
pet story.
Yeah, no, the embarrassing story is yet to come. But yeah, no, that was just traumatic. I look down, I see that, and then by the time I look up, the game where I just gotten this piece I needed I had gone on like 5 hunts for this thing. My game froze. The computer froze, shut off, and I lost it. And I lost my computer too. So it was just like,
Oh, dude,
fuck.
so that like fucked your computer completely?
Yeah, no, that was when I had to start getting a new computer.
Oh my god,
It fucked
dude.
up most of the components in there.
I feel like because I had a dog that was a piss maggot, and that's what I called him because he would just piss all the time.
Yeah.
But never was it something like that. That
Yeah.
is awful.
No, I wanted to murder.
I don't know if I love anything enough to not kill it.
For real, if it was mine,
Maybe two
it wouldn't have
things.
been mine anymore.
Maybe like my mom and my girlfriend. Everything else is getting glocked.
Well, I've never told the story about that cat, too. Like, why? And, like, to be fair, he
You
was a
learned it
mess.
from watching you.
Well, no, it should have been taken care of much sooner than it was. But I had raised this cat since the second it came out its mama. No joke. Like, I bottle fed that thing for like 6 weeks until it was like able to eat actual food. And then
Like pizza.
yeah, and then it just started eating everything.
Dude,
So
that
like
cat really does. Like, he eats eggs,
Is he
meat,
still
raw meat. He doesn't give a fuck.
Well, yeah, dude. Raw meat's actually, I think, good for cats, but
and he's
Um,
15 years old.
because they're obligate carnivores. But so let me just ask, like, is the cat before I continue? Is the cat still around?
Yes.
Okay, because you were referring to the issue in past tense. And I didn't know if we were
Because
referring to
yeah.
the cat in past
Well, yeah,
tense, but
He actually
no
doesn't
longer
do
does
it
this.
anymore. No.
Yeah, no, he's been fixed and fixed.
Okay, cool. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Now I felt bad because my cat, I felt bad neutering him because he had some sizable gonads. I'm not kidding. I was like, what
Yeah.
a waste. I got to take these from him.
You were just
Yeah.
like, ugh.
I did. I felt a little bit bad, but I took them. But the thing is with my piss maggot dog, I never did that. And he marked everywhere and he pissed on everything. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to
That's a
nip
big
this in the
reason.
bud. But as I was doing so, when I was reading about it, I don't know if it's like something in other countries. I don't know what the fuck it is. Here in America, we call it neutering. But apparently, with the article I was reading, they just nonchalantly refer to it as castration, which made it way too fucking real to me.
Yeah, no,
though.
that makes sense. America, we need to make it sound nice.
I
We
don't
got to dumb it.
I don't want you to remind me that I'm castrating my animal. That just sounds fucked up. Now it's now it's vivisection. I don't want to perform surgery on my cat without its consent. Can we just call it neutering, please?
So that means we somehow got the cat's consent.
Right.
Oh yeah, dude. I dipped his front right paw in ink. And sorry, bro.
Dab the paper. That's it.
I figured the older I wait, or the longer I wait and the older he gets, the more he'll hold it against me psychologically.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know how your cat, who ruins PCs with his pee,
and pizza.
There's a pee trend. His pee ruins PCs, pizza.
God, you're so right.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
That cat was, man.
So, like, what did he hold it against you when you took them?
No, he was
cool, man. Cool.
He's a very sheltered cat insofar as he's never really been without like me. So there's really not much he could do. You know what I mean? Like he has no sort of reference for anybody outside.
He didn't
Yeah,
just
I
start
get.
going up to him and tagging him all the time now. You know what I mean?
I do have
That-
to like. I get it though. Like when it comes to troublesome like pets that because I don't have any kids. None of us have any kids
that you know of.
that I know of. But
There's
like,
like
yeah,
3
dude,
out
my
there.
my piss maggot, my dog Rufus, like, dude, I loved that dog so much, and it was the same thing. Like, somebody found him in a parking lot. He was riddled with worms, and I just couldn't say no, and I took him in, and like, no matter how much of a piss maggot he was, I could not get rid of this dog. I just loved him too
Yeah.
much. I never did
Yeah.
neuter him. I should have maybe later, but the vet told me, I don't know if it's different with dogs. When I took Rufus into the vet later, she was basically like, if he's established this habit of being a piss maggot, which is the technical medical term,
Mm-hmm.
if you take his
Very simple.
balls, he's not going to stop. Like the habit of marking is already too far ingrained.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
So I didn't because I was like, well,
Yeah.
I'm not going to castrate him and still have him piss on all my shit. Now we're both just in a bad spot.
Right.
But going back to it, Chris, you're not getting out of telling your embarrassing story.
Oh no, I was waiting for the opportunity.
He doesn't care.
Yeah, and I was like 16, I think, at the time.
Back when you peed.
And this is when Gears of War came out, and me and my dude online are playing co-op and just going through the story mode, you know, for hours. So I didn't want to get up, so I had 2 liters, and I was like, bro, I ain't missing out. I'm just gonna get up. I peed in the 2 liter. Okay. Sat down. Unfortunately, I had like one I was drinking out of, and then I had that one.
Damn it.
So, of course, I, without looking, picked up a bottle, unscrewed the cap because I'm just focused on the game, you know, and swig it back, immediately spit out.
Oh my God.
And to say it's never happened again. 'Cause,
Yeah, that's cemented. I peed in my own
Yep.
eyes, but I can't say I know what pee tastes like. And I also can't
wasn't
say
good.
that I'm not curious.
yeah. Well, hey, you know, life and death situations, you know.
Well, we're
What,
two out of
like,
3 piss drinkers then.
I just
Yeah.
want to know, like, what was. I'm just going to be forward.
It's
What did
tangy.
it taste like? Yeah.
Tangy.
Tangy?
Yeah. Yeah, that is sour and
Like tang?
It's
Like a
just-
kick in the glass? You remember that?
I mean,
Have you ever
it was a
smelled
kick in my
ketchup?
teeth.
Have you ever smelled ketchup that's been like laying out for a few? It's got that sort of vinegary smell.
Right.
I feel like we could have just
yeah.
opened with vinegar, but now I know that you've smelled ketchup that's laid out for too long.
Well, I mean, haven't we all?
No, man. But that does actually have a question.
You
So-
ain't never.
What?
You ain't never left ketchup in like a plate for like an hour.
An
then it just
hour,
became
yes. An hour,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
yes.
saying this thing lasted like days. I'm just saying ketchup smells really gross after a little bit.
I'm not sure. Dude, there's so many preservatives in that shit. Maybe that's actually what lends to your theory, though, because it probably does smell like vinegar.
You know, I think it does have like a
I
not
love
a
ketchup,
great
dude.
taste or smell when it's been sitting out for even a few hours.
Yeah, but hear me out, dude. Ketchup, for those that don't know, like ketchup that doesn't need to be refrigerated is loaded up with some sort of anti-foaming agent, which sounds as fucking weird as it is. That way they can leave like ketchup packets out. And knowing this and still having little to no respect for my idiot body, I will just store up ketchup packets in my glove box so that I can use them if they ever give us like a shortage of ketchup. And I didn't realize this may be weird until people started pointing it out. But my mom always did it, and I always did it. But my mom also keeps like, my mom also once said, and I quote, mayonnaise doesn't go bad. So I'm not sure if that's a good idea to be keeping the ketchup packets in the glove box.
Yeah, no, I don't think so, bro. Like, that's
Nah, fuck the FDA. You do you, bro.
Hey, listen, they're sealed.
Yeah, if you enjoy it, like it's not gonna get, like calcified or whatever.
I'm just thinking of like when it gets really hot.
That was my
Those
worry. Was
things-
the temperature fluctuations.
Yeah.
Well, then you got a tangy start to a barbecue sauce.
Oh.
It's got an undertone to it. Tastes like whatever the fuck the interior of my car is made of.
Leather,
Cancer.
microplastics.
Yes.
But what were you saying before we started talking about like gross ketchup? That was my fault.
Who are you talking to?
You, Caleb, you were saying something about you had a story to tell before I asked about the gross ketchup.
Listen, first of all, I'm the last person to ask about what I was going to say. I have no idea. That moment, that ship has sailed. I didn't even know that I was going to say something. I'm impressed that you knew I was going to say something. I really appreciate you keeping track of the dumb shit that I was going to say.
I know everything.
But apparently, according to this episode, the thumbnail should just be a toilet. Because piss has encompassed most of it.
Yeah. No, toilet talk. I love it.
Hey, before we move on, because I'm sure my buddy Kenny's going to appreciate getting a call out after
That almost seemed
the
like
piss.
a cut.
That did.
No, I just thought it would be funny to include him in such an inopportune moment. But I want to pull up exactly what he said so I don't misquote him. I'll just read it to you so you guys know what he said. Because it's another feedback, which I do like to give the attention to.
Let's get him in.
So he said, you guys should come up with outrageous commercial breaks with fictitious sponsors and whatever. Some funny, weird, or outrageous products that don't really exist. I feel like that definitely has like a radio show vibe to it. But we're so impromptu that I don't know if I'm clever enough to come up with anything on the spot.
Yeah, I feel like maybe we should have him or just the listeners give us some items to riff about, at least, give us some items to,
I mean,
go
when I hear stuff like radio ads, my first thought jumps to like those lawyer ads where it's like, hey, have you fallen off a roof because you were redoing your roof because you couldn't afford to buy somebody else? Well, guess what? Johnson and Johnson is here. Just call 435-99999 and we'll fucking sue your neighbor because he technically was in the wrong.
Dude, I feel like at this point, if you've ever eaten pizza that is just absolutely saturated with cat urine, you may be entitled to compensation.
And I feel I should.
See, all I'm thinking of is
or lost a piece.
Billy Mays here, and with OxyClean, or have you ever heard Djibouti Dubs?
Yeah,
I don't know if they're still around. Dubs. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
What the fuck is Djibouti Dubs?
It took like the infomercial ads on like OxyClean and the
ShamWow
mop and Chap Slop. Yeah, the ShamWow, the Slap Chop, all that shit, and just it's basically what he's talking about. It's just making fun of it, making fake sponsors and.
Yeah, if any of us ever come up with an idea that warrants fleshing that out into a real thing, we can include it mid-episode. Like we'll record it in advance, but as of now, I just wanted to let you guys know that Kenny had that idea.
I like that he thinks we can do that. Like, not something I'm really used to, but I mean, I'm down to try.
Are you sick and
I
tired of your wife cheating on you? Well, guess what? It's time. You drop down to Kenny's World of Guns and you get yourself that home protection. You don't go to work no more. You just sit outside your house. You wait for that guy to come in. Even though it's your wife's fault, you're going to blame the guy for some reason.
Dude, I love that like neither one of you know Kenny, but since we live in Kentucky and Ohio, we just assume he's got guns, and he does.
Yeah.
Of course.
And I love the idea that it's just, yeah, the wife did it, but the dude's at fault. Be a man. You
Yeah.
know?
Listen, I feel like part of let's just imagine we have Jordan Peterson on it. He's like, listen, if you're a man, I don't know if I can channel Jordan Peterson.
Well, look,
If you're a man and someone comes into your home, it is your responsibility to be shot first.
Not shoot first, to be shot first.
not first.
Yeah, but I feel like Jordan Peterson had a weird arc because
And it's a bad arc.
it's a bad arc. But like when he was first on the radar, I feel like this happens with a lot of people. When they're first on the radar, you're like, okay, let me hear you
I
out.
understand.
Yeah. Let's hear him. Let's hear what he's got to say. And then you're
Yeah,
like,
how bad can it be?
and then you're like, oh no, never mind. He's on the Daily Wire. But I'm gonna listen long enough. You know what I mean? I want to listen
yeah.
long enough because sometimes good ideas get pushed back.
Yeah,
And sometimes and sometimes they're just bad ideas.
I think a lot of these guys, they start off with something like a good, maybe even a good just moral point, but then they, after time goes on, they lean more and more into the extremisms of it
I agree.
and
Because
go
it's
down
sensationalist.
to placate to the fanaticals.
Right. Dude, no, like Ben Shapiro, one time this is unrelated to some extent.
Let's just say I wanted you to send me feet pics. Let's just say that. I mean, then what would we do? Would you just send me them, please?
Hey, I wanted
No
that was
reason.
my first burp this episode. But yeah, no, I played a whole tabletop session one time. I based my character on Ben Shapiro just because it was hilarious. Because it's just funny to be him. But he's another example of like when they first, I feel like he plays into demographics because when he was first around before he was basically bought and sold, he was like, at least you could hear what he had to say.
Yeah.
I'll hear what I think I first heard of him on a podcast. And so I'm listening to it and I'm like, okay, I mean, he's criticizing the right wing and the left wing. I'll listen to at least what he's got to say here. And then, because I live under a rock, fast forward several years, and I'm hearing him just go on this fucking stupid ass diatribe where he's like, he's talking about rap, okay? And like I said, I love country. I love a lot of, I should specify, I love like old country. I like outlaw country. I don't really like pop country.
Nah.
But I'm not going to open that can of worms because I'm
Nor
talking
should
about
anyone.
I'm talking about Ben Shapiro right now. But he goes on this whole stupid ass diatribe where he's like, actually, rap music is not music. Like you're playing to your audience. I don't know. It just bothered me. I just felt like that was such an ignorant ass statement to say.
See, I was thinking about that recently too. Because have you ever heard of an ancient Greek philosopher called Diogenes?
Oh fuck yeah, Diogenes the cynic.
Yeah, and then there was somebody who once tried to describe humans as a featherless biped, and so he plucked the feathers off a chicken, went into, I think it was like Aristotle's or somebody's class, and said, with a plucked chicken, like, "Behold, a man," because it's fucking arbitrary.
Yeah, no,
And
that's a good.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of like Ben Shapiro stuff, where it's like you're focusing on the spirit rather than the letter. Or
Yeah,
the letter rather than the spirit of whatever you're talking about.
it
You're arguing
sounds
semantics.
great. Like if nobody starts picking away, I feel like that's a lot of the problem with most dialogues, though, is like It is
It's
more
all
about the zingers and the presentation than it is about actually saying anything of value.
yeah, it's all punchlines.
Yeah. And Diogenes also had an awesome. Dude, this guy had fucking brass balls. Because Alexander the Great, for some reason, who knows why, had this great respect for Diogenes.
I always heard when Alexander the Great said, "If I could be anybody besides Alexander the Great, I'd be Diogenes." And Diogenes said, "If I could be anybody else besides me, I'd still be me." And then Alexander the Great said, "Ask me of anything, and if it's within my power as the great emperor, I will give it to you." And then Diogenes said, "Step out of my light."
There you go.
Yeah, nah, I like that.
But it proves what like a dickhead, but also like such a funny dude he was. Like, ask for anything: gold, women, power, land. He's like, yeah, step 2 inches to your fucking left.
Yeah. Dude, the Cynics are weird because they're totally badass, but at the same time, I can only imagine relatively intolerable. Because
Mhm.
like Epictetus, he was a Stoic, and his mentality, at least he had a few things. We're not sure how tongue in cheek they were, but he had a statement that basically was like, if you, he's like, the ideal state of being is to be a cynic. But if you fail at being a cynic, the best you could do is be a pretty good Stoic. Uh, but yeah, dude, the Cynics had some pretty awesome shit they did. Like they would call them watchdogs, but there were points where the Cynics' lack of respect for tradition and societal standards were just so fucking badass that it's hard not to just be like, that's awesome, even if it would suck if you were the subject of it, because they would literally just kick in people's doors and just start morally lecturing them, and you're just like, what the fuck, dude?
Jesus.
I mean, that's pretty awesome, though.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's fucking hilarious. Could you imagine just sitting there watching Modern Family, and then all of a sudden, some dude in like a dirty fucking tunic kicks your door in, farts, and starts telling you about how Christmas is bullshit?
I'd be like, Uncle, get out of here. It's fucking February.
And he's just like, "Fuck you!"
Be like, you ever seen Christmas Bride? Yeah, that was me. And I was like, Grandpa, there's no movie like that. And he's like, fuck you.
He's like, "You're a fucking joke. Everything you stand for is a fucking joke." And you're
This is why
like, "Damn."
Blockbuster went out of business.
I'm not feeling that great anymore. But you're kind of awesome.
So,
How much longer do you have there, Caleb?
yeah, Caleb.
Not much longer. I guess we should probably wind down here. But I would say
I mean,
that
that's
like,
a pretty.
good job on us for actually getting through all the feedback.
No, that was awesome. And the
No.
people who gave us that feedback, I would love for you to keep doing that, even if we didn't get it to you as much as you thought.
Right.
man.
Yeah, no. Thanks to Jake,
Your sister.
my sister, which has her rated T for Toxicus, and Kenny. So basically, if you want anything that you ask us to be filtered through toilet humor, drop it down in the comments.
Yeah, well,
And we will relate it to urine.
Yes, sir. Where there's a will, there's a way.
I don't know anybody named Will, but actually I do.
Well, that makes one of us.
Can't say I do.
I love the fact that like that, you know, there's very few places you can go to hear about Diogenes the Cynic and the proper ways to pee without getting too much splashback.
You only have one place to go. If you need to do a one-stop shop,
Right?
what better place for piss and cynicism?
What better can we come up with one thing to say that isn't difficult to say? The name of our podcast is already difficult. Can we have a slogan that doesn't involve a tongue twister?
Everyone
Yeah.
here is a naked primate, so there's no reason to stand on airs.
Yeah, that's maybe just we're all just naked primates.
Yeah, we're all just naked primates having a
Yeah.
fucking grand old time in this hell
That's our-
pit that we call existence.
That's our listeners, the naked primates.
Listen, Drew, I feel like every time you come up with a slogan, it just keeps going. You can't have a paragraph as a slogan. It's got to be. It's got to be a sentence.
Says who?
Says everyone who's come up with this slogan. It's got to be memorable. You're like, we are all just naked primates who inhabit the earth that revolves the sun and nothing matters, but that's okay. End quote.
All right, like I said, naked primates. Then I'm cool with naked primates.
So yeah, definitely leave feedback, and I'm gonna go drive into oncoming traffic.
Oh, please do.
Oh,
All
for
right.
sure.
Please record it and make sure you have the phone in your hand while you're recording.
Yeah, I'll
There
have
hasn't been
I'll
a
have
good
the,
Need for
that.
Speed game in so long.
I'll have the Eminem song playing in the background where he like drives into the water with his
Oh,
wife.
Stan.
Stan, thank you. So anyway, sayonara,
Capybara.
capybaras.
That's our fucking catchphrase.
I know what's funny is I was saying that before the show, and I just
Not
said it
anymore.
to you guys, but I feel like that's a good catchphrase.
Yeah. No, we used to say that all the time at Amazon.
Or
Yeah.
valid as valid.
Valid as a salad. Yeah, we don't have to limit ourselves to one.
Golden like a shower.
I feel like we should limit ourselves to one. All right, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.